What's up guys, this is DJ Lobotomize, and today I'm going to be talking about my later releases, including Visions, Beats from a Dorm, Project 9, and my recent album I just released, Cover Letter. So let's get to it. I released my album Visions quite some time ago, and as you can see here, my first track on here is called 7, which symbolizes the 7th album, and the theme of this album is more of an ambient theme, transitioning off of the chilled theme that was given from time travel. This is more of like that transition album where there's not really a general concept to it as deep as illusionist or time travel, but this album was just me having fun with different sounds. It was more like an experimental album, if you will. My favorite tracks on this album was Drifting, which I sampled Periphery. Awesome metal band. They definitely do some technical work. And my second favorite track would have to be Focus, where I actually went into one of Elliot Hulse's videos and took a track or a sample. I heard something that I have never heard before and I thought was really cool, so I took that off. I don't know the actual name of the sample, which is kind of bad, but that is two of my favorite tracks on this experimental album, if you will. So moving on, Beats from a Dorm, one of my favorite projects that I put out in 2016. The theme of this album is really interesting. Well, the perspective is the fact that it's more or less taken from my perspective, where you get to hear a kid that moves out from his nice enclosure of a home off to college where there's less resources. So you get to hear my experience of the first day of university, as you can see here on the track listing, and you can feel the way I felt, meeting friends or making friends for the first time, and then meeting teachers and professors, and then getting to see the university as from the tour guides and things like that. But all that starts to go away as soon as you go back to your dorm, and it really starts to suck. You start to get that homesickness and missing your parents and your family, and nothing's ever the same. So this album really addresses those feelings and thoughts of a college kid going through it and being in the middle of everything. And I felt that was really a central theme of this album, and it was really important to me to express that in my production. Besides getting homesick and getting that perspective, you also get another perspective of me being competitive and being on the grind at all times. As most of you know, I am an engineer and I have to work hard in school and have to get that paper. It's every man for himself out there, man. We're playing for keeps out there. So I emphasize that in my 11th track on this album called Hunger Games. In a university, you have those people that come in your life occasionally and try to help you out, but for the most part, we're playing for keeps, man. Who are we kidding? If you think about any competition and you guys want to be doctors or lawyers or engineers or the best artist or producer out there, do you really think that someone in the same lane as you wants you to be more successful than them? I don't think so. If they do, then they're not competitive. It's just the name of the game. That's what it is for Beats from a Dorm. My favorite track on this album has to be Penthouse Views, because after all the crap you go through in college, you gotta have that one thought that keeps you alive, and that is your dream and visualizing that you are gonna make it and you are gonna be somewhere soon. So you're transitioning from that, and in my album you can definitely see that transition from college and provincial university thinking into a more serious and more refined sound. So with Project 9 you get that more serious and refined sound, and you can hear that straight from my first instrumental track on the album, Seriously, which is actually paying credit to Gears of War. For most of you that don't know, in Gears of War 1, when you get 10,000 kills, you get the Seriously achievement. Well, for those of you that haven't been following me or haven't been with the program, I used to play Gears of War all the time, and so that's pretty much where I got my DJ tag, or DJ Lobotomize. The Lobotomize is from Baird. When you get a headshot in the game, Baird says Lobotomize, so that is where I get my DJ tag from, and that's where I get my entire theme from, since I used to play it all the time. So this album is pretty straightforward. It's just about having that aggressive and serious sound that I'm ready to go get it, and there's nothing stopping me, there's nothing in the way, and you're just grinding hard. So this album is that embodiment of that entire thought process. And like all my previous albums, I gotta have that one track that balances out, right? Because you're consistently on the grind and you gotta balance life out. Life is all about balance. So for track 11, I have Tides, which settling down and thinking to yourself and recuperating your thoughts and really getting back to base after grinding hard and being really serious about it. So that one track, Tides, really balances out the whole aggressive sound, and there are several tracks in this album that does balance out the entire aggressive tone, such as 90s Kids, nostalgic sound in there, and also Forever, which is track 3. It really starts to slow things down after being aggressive, and I try to pattern that really well in this album. I really like this album a lot because of that effect that it has. Moving on to my next and my most recent release, Cover Letter. You can hear almost 2 different production themes in Cover Letter. As the title implies, this is a theme that tells a story of what kind of producer I am and what type of sound that I like to make. Like listening to your friend's iPod or listening to someone's playlist, you can tell a lot from a person just from that, right? And I wanted you guys to take away what kind of producer I am, at least in this point in time. So I feel like this project really highlighted that, from the aggressive sounds in the first half, from Awake all the way to The Grind 5. If you've been keeping up with my releases, you get a special surprise on track 5, One Take, where it's an original project by me with no samples, and you get to hear a snippet from the original, which I released in my first album, The Man Behind the Music. For the rest of the album, you get to hear a transition from an aggressive sound to a really relaxed and laid back sound, and that's emphasized as soon as you hit the interlude with Elsewhere, and then I use the same sample on The Road, which is just a little extension. You get to hear a really nice vintage Fender sound, Fender guitar, and I really incorporate that in track 8 all the way through the end of the album. And so, unlike previous albums where I just had that 1 or 2 track that really carried the more laid back sound of the album and really balanced out the entire album, for this one I dedicated the last half to a more ambient and relaxed sound, so that really balances out the whole tone and the rest of the theme of the album. Towards the last half of the album, you really get that laid back California inspired sound. As most of you know, I recently relocated to California, so that's where I get my inspirations from, and that's where I draw my experiences from, and I put that all into audio form. And I really enjoy making all these projects with you guys, and it's really interesting. It's been quite a journey releasing 10 mixtapes and albums on Bandcamp and putting it out for free. So pretty much it for this video. I hope I covered almost all my thought process as much as possible in this video. Of course, I can always go more in depth, but then you guys might be bored of hearing me talk about how I'm making these projects and keeping up to date with everything. But it's all about practice. It's all about refining your sound, right? And drawing from your experiences and your inspirations, and then putting that experience into audio form. At least that's what I'm good at. So it's been fun, guys. I really enjoyed making these projects with you, and if you want to use these projects, they're all free on Bandcamp, of course. But if you want to start selling things, check out my leasing video that I recently released. But other than that, if you have any further questions, feel free to subscribe and then email me, keep up to date, and I'll keep you guys posted on the latest. Until next time, I'll see you guys.